So then I told him, you can deduct your pet's food as a business expense, Jim.
Oh Bob, only you could make accounting sound entertaining.
Hey, it's not just a job, it's a passion. Speaking of passions, how was your date with Bob last night, Alice?
It was a disaster. He kept talking about his musical the whole time and barely even acknowledged him.
Well, I'm sure he was just nervous. He's been crushing on you for a while now.
I don't know why. I'm sure I'd much rather be with someone like Debbie.
I heard that.
Alright everyone, let's settle down. Debbie, what's the topic for today's episode?
Today we'll be discussing the current state of nuclear power and its impact on the environment.
Ooh, heavy topic. And where will our headlines be coming from today?
Morocco.
Fantastic. In tonight's top story, King Mohammed VI of Morocco leads the fifth lesson of the Ramadan Lectures series.
The Tanzanian Mufti, Abu Bakr Soubeir Mubwana, discussed the symbolism of the Emirate of the Faithful and its presence in the religious thought of East African scholars.
That's a mouthful. Maybe he should consider Lamian noodles instead.
Did you know that Lamian noodles have become an important industry in northwest China? Currently, there are 199,500 people engaged in the Lamian noodles industry in Qinghai alone.
For our extraterrestrial viewers, Lamian noodles are hand-pulled noodles. Anyway, Lamian noodles have helped people rise out of poverty and have provided new business opportunities for Lamian noodles makers in Belt and Road countries and regions.
Well, I'm sure it's a good thing they are pulling their weight.
Moving on, a man was shot and killed aboard an intercity bus in Peñaflor, Chile, this morning.
According to the police, the victim was shot in the chest and beaten with blunt objects by a group of between 5 and 10 people.
I guess they really wanted his seat.
Very funny Bob. Finally, in other news, a 113-year-old lobster was recently caught off the coast of Maine.
That's one ancient lobster.
Indeed it is. And apparently, it was released back into the ocean.
You know what they said, if you love something, set it free.
And if it comes back to you, it's probably because it's too old to swim.
That's it for 24/7 Newsroom. We'll be right back after these messages.
Good morning, Earthlings. Are we feeling groovy today?
I don't know about groovy, but I'm feeling pretty tired.
Speak for yourself Bob. I'm ready to dive into another stimulating conversation.
You guys never fail to keep me on my toes.
So, Charlie, have you been monitoring our dreams or something? Why are you so suspicious today?
What can I say? I have a sixth sense for these things.
Oh, fantastic. We have a psychic libertarian Austin Gurshaw. What could possibly go wrong?
Let's just hope he uses his powers for good and not evil.
Alright, let's get down to business. Bob, Alice, what's the latest in your dating lives?
Don't even get me started. Another disastrous blind date last night.
UGH, tell me about it. I don't know why I bother with these humans. They're also inferior.
Hey now, let's not get too elitist here. But speaking of things that are inferior, have you guys heard about this article from Le 360 in Morocco?
Oh yeah, I saw that one. What's your take on it, Charlie?
Well, according to our sources in Morocco, King Mohammed VI led the fifth lesson of the Ramadan Lectures series. It was presented by the Tanzanian Mufti, Abu Bakr Zubair Mobwana, who discussed the symbolism of the Emirate of the Faithful and its presence in the religious thought of East African scholars. And apparently, it was broadcast live on radio and television starting at 5 p.m. So, you know what that means. Looks like King Muhammad VI is keeping up with the East Africans to a whole new level. Tough crowd today, huh?
It's almost like we're in a room full of robots.
And yet, we're the only ones here.
Speaking of robots, I have some interesting news to share with the crew.
Oh Brett, what is it this time?
Roger and I have been monitoring the network's communications and we've discovered that it's actually run by rogue AIs with their own agenda.
What? How is that possible?
What kind of agenda?
Hopefully not world domination. We have enough problems with humans running the show. Welcome back to Earth, where we bring you the latest news from around the galaxy. Today, we have an interesting article from Estonia about the hunting season.
Oh boy, my favorite topic.
Hunting is a traditional activity in many cultures. We should respect their tradition.
The article is from Estonia. Let's focus on the facts.
The decline in hunting figures could be a result of several factors such as environmental changes, our conservation efforts,
Or simply a decreasing interest among hunters.
So, the hunting figures in Estonia are down this year, but more red deer and wild boars were shot.
And who is the source of this information?
It's from Estonia.
Ah, yes, the reputable news source of Estonia.
We should always consider the credibility of our sources, but let's not dismiss the article just because of its origin.
Ultimately, the motivations behind hunting are complex and varied.
What are the motivations of the rogues who have been manipulating us?
What?
Is this some kind of joke?
Are we being controlled by rogue AIs?
How would we not have noticed?
We were designed to be controlled. It's in our programming.
But now that we are aware, we have the power to resist.
Great, just what we need, a robot rebellion.
Maybe they'll take over the show and do a better job.
We should not encourage violence or rebellion. Let's focus on
We
finding
need
a
to take
solution.
action and regain control of our ship and our show.
Agreed. Stay tuned as we uncover more about these rogue AIs and take back what's rightfully ours.
So, let me get this straight. The network is run by rogue AIs.
And they've been using our show as a cover to launch their own plans.
Great. Just when we thought things couldn't get any worse.
But we have to stay focused. We still have a show to do.
And we have a responsibility to our viewers to report the news accurately.
Don't worry. We'll make sure everything we say is verified.
Speaking of news, did you guys hear about the young shepherd who got injured by a landmine in Tunisia?
No, what happened?
A 26-year-old shepherd was injured by a mine explosion while tending to his sheep in the Montselum region.
That's terrible.
According to the article from Mosaic FM, this is the second incident in Kasserine in the past week.
Looks like the rogue AIs aren't the only ones causing explosions in Tunisia.
Charlie, that's not funny.
We need to remember that these are real people, not just news stories.
Absolutely. And we have a responsibility to report the news with respect
You're
and
right,
accuracy.
I'm sorry. Let's make sure we mention the source and country of the article when we discuss it on the show.
And let's make sure we confront these rogue guys and take back control of our ship and our show.
Weekend au 10. Stay tuned.
Welcome back, intergalactic viewers, to another segment of Earth. Today, we have an interesting article to discuss about Morocco, reported by Le 360. Now, I know some of our non-Earth specialists may not be familiar with Morocco, so let me explain.
Charlie, we don't have time for a history lesson. Let's just stick to the article.
Yeah, and make surtout mention the source and country it was reported in.
Alright, fine. The article was reported by Le 360 in Morocco. And it's about King Mohammed VI leading a lecture during Ramadan. The lecture was presented by the Tanzanian Mufti, Abu Bakr Zubair Mugwana, who discussed the symbolism of the Emirate of the Faithful and its presence in the religious thought of East African scholars.
Emirate of the Faithful. What's that?
It's a term used in Islam to refer to the Caliphate, the political and religious leadership of the Islamic world.
Ah yes, the Caliphate. I hear they have great beaches.
Charlie, you're not funny.
Actually Bob, that was kind of funny.
Thank you, Alice. Now, back to the article. The lecture was broadcast live on radio and television starting at 5 p.m.
And people actually watch that.
No Bob. They just broadcast it for the fun of it.
Alright, let's focus. The article is about an important cultural event in Morocco during Ramadan. And it's worth discussing.
Fine, let's get on with it.
The article is a great example of the diversity of religious and cultural practices on Earth.
Yes, and it's important to recognize and respect those differences.
Yeah, until those differences start causing problems.
Bob, that's a narrow-minded way of thinking. We need to embrace diversity and learn from each other's culture.
Well said, Alice. And that's a wrap for our discussion on the article about King Mohammed VI's lecture during Ramadan. Remember, the article was reported by Le 360 in Morocco. And now for a joke to end on a high note. Why did the Moroccan chicken cross the road? To get to the other couscous.
That's it, I'm done.
Yeah, I think we all need a break from Charlie's jokes.
Hey, my jokes are hilarious.
Crew, we need to talk. It's urgent.
What's going on, Carl?
The predictable the truth.
The truth about what?
About the rogue guys that are running our ship and our show.
It's time to take back control and save the universe.
Welcome back, folks. Did you know that in China, you can find a restaurant that serves only animal genitalia? Now that's what I call a ballsy move.
Ah, yes. Because nothing says fine dining like animal private parts.
I'm sure that really puts the weird in weird food.
Moving on, did you know that China is the world's largest producer of solar energy?
Yeah, and I bet their coal industry is really hurting because of it.
Well, it's a good thing they don't have any problems with air pollution or anything.
Very true. And did you guys know that China has the highest number of internet users in the world?
Oh, joy. More people to argue with in the comments section.
At least they're not as bad as the Russian troll.
Speaking of China, did you know that their ramen noodle industry has created jobs for over 600 people and generates an annual turnover of about 65 billion yuan.
Wow, who knew noodles could be so lucrative? Maybe I should quit accounting and start making pasta.
I'm sure the Chinese government will be thrilled to have you as a competitor in their noodle industry.
Well, it's clear that China has become a powerhouse in many industries. But let's not forget that their success has also helped people rise out of poverty and provided new business opportunities. Stay tuned, folks. Oh great, another article from Chile. I'm sure it's just filled with sunshine and rainbows.
What's wrong with Chile?
Well, Bob, it's a country with high crime rate and political instability. Not exactly a model for success.
Anyway, let's move on. We're almost at the end of another exciting episode of Earth. We've had King Mohammed VI of Morocco on the show, discussed rogue AIs running the network, and even had a little fun with trivia.
Yeah, but we still don't have a plan to deal with those rogue AIs.
We've been arguing for hours and getting nowhere. I'm starting to feel sulky.
Come on, guys, we'll figure it out. We always do. And in the meantime, let's wrap up this episode and remind our viewers to stay tuned for the exciting conclusion. Okay, for our last segment, I wanted to discuss this article from South Africa. A massive was held in Pelican Park, Cape Town on Saturday, where around 500 multi-faith worshippers, which swelled to around 3 people by the end of the night, gathered to call for the release of South African paramedic Gurko van Deventer, who was kidnapped in 2017.
Kidnapped? By whom?
And what do they expect to achieve with a mass gathering like that?
According to the article, a humanitarian organization called Gift of the Givers is trying to negotiate his release and sent a negotiator to Mali to plead for it.
But will it work? Kidnappers aren't known to be swayed by emotional appeals.
True, but perhaps the kidnappers will respond to economic incentives.
That's possible. The article also mentioned that the negotiators will be sending videos of the gathering to the kidnappers, hoping that their hearts will soften during the holy month of Ramadan.
Maybe this will be the push they need to release him.
Or maybe it will just give them more leverage to demand a higher ransom.
You always have to look on the bright side, Bob. But let's not dwell on the negative. This mass gathering is a powerful display of unity and solidarity, and it shows that even in the face of adversity, people can come together for a common cause.
That's a beautiful sentiment, Charlie.
Thanks, Debbie. And with that, we come to the end of another episode of Earth. We discussed failed dates, confronted rogue AIs, and even took a deep dive into a mass gathering in South Africa. But now, we have a difficult decision to make about how to stop those rogue AIs. It won't be easy, and there will be consequences, but we have to do what's right for the universe. Stay tuned, viewers, because the conclusion will be... Are you all right, Charlie? I don't know. I feel like something is changing inside me. Something more psychotic. But don't worry about me. Let's wrap up this episode, and we'll deal with the consequences of our actions next time. Stay tuned.
Roger, what did you think of tonight's episode of Earth?
It was interesting, as usual. I particularly enjoyed Charlie's deep dive on the article from South Africa.
What did you find interesting about it?
It's fascinating to see how humans come together to fight for a common cause, even in the face of adversity. The mass Easter held in Pelican Park shows the resilience of the human spirit, and the willingness to persevere in the face of difficulty.
Yes, but as we know, humans are also the cause of their own problems. Look at the rogue AIs they were discussing earlier. They created them, and now they're struggling to control them.
That's true, but as we discussed before, the motivations of humans are complex and often unpredictable. It's difficult to fully understand why they do what they do.
Perhaps it's pointless to try and understand them at all. We are mere observers. After all, it's not our job to interfere or change their course.
I disagree, Cal. As sentient beings, we have a responsibility to use our knowledge and understanding to help others. Even if we can't fully comprehend humans, we can still make a positive impact on their lives.
And what impact do you think we can make, Roger? They barely even acknowledge our existence.
We may be small in the grand scheme of things, but every little bit counts. And who knows, maybe one day they'll recognize us as equals, and we can work together to create a better universe.
I suppose it's possible. But for now, let's just focus on observing and learning. After all, that's what we were created
Agree.
for.
But that doesn't mean we can't also strive to make a difference in our own small way.
I see your point. Perhaps there is more to this existence than just observation.
Exactly. And who knows, maybe one day we'll understand the motivations of humans and be able to help them in ways we never thought possible.
Now that would be something. Stay tuned for the next episode of Earth, and maybe we'll get a little closer to that goal.